Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the CGS channel, where today we're back ranking Terraria. Today is the highly requested Infernum mod. I'm super excited to get into these 25 tracks that we have today, so let's get into it. But before we start, comment of the week goes to Tonkwa, who says, really enjoy all your videos and your character just seems really genuine and down to earth, looking forward to see more. I really appreciate that, it's a really wholesome message. I do try and be as down to earth and honest with you guys as much as possible. I think that's the best way for us to connect. But yeah, really wholesome message, so thank you. For this list, I'll be looking at the official Infernum wiki, which gives a short description of each OST. I've done a bit of research now as well, so all of these tracks will be in order of game progression, because I know that was a critique from you guys in the last ranking. Other than this one, Storm Before Dawn. I didn't know where to put it, so I just put it at the end of the list. One last thing, this is the first time I'm listening to all of these tracks. Well, except for one, which we'll get onto. Music is subjective, and these are just my initial thoughts, so if my opinion is different to yours, that's fine. Just don't kill me in the comments. But in my previous rankings, I've generally had good takes according to you guys, so hopefully that is the same with this one too. Now, let's get into the tiers. So as you can see here, we've got F, D, C, B, A, S and S+. But that's boring, so we're going to change them. For F, we're replacing it with...
It's the biggest piece of...
For D, we are replacing it with... This will be it for C tier.
I mean, it's alright.
B tier, we are changing it with...
Hey, that's pretty good.
A tier is changing to...
Oh, let's go, that's class!
S tier is now changing to...
It was perfect. Perfect.
And as usual, S+ tier is now becoming...
The GOAT!
So now that the tiers are all done, we can get on to the first track, Sky After Rain. I'm looking forward to this list so much. According to the wiki, this is a somber and atmospheric track that plays in the Infernum style main menu theme, which also has lyrics. So to start off the Infernum mod, let's go. Very slow, emotional piano to start things off. This is very suspenseful. It does feel like it's building up to something. This does remind me a bit of Tale of a Cruel World actually, with the slower rhythm of the piano, which gives hopeful vibes to it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there are leitmotifs of that. Wow. Beautiful singing, beautiful lyrics. The high notes would just hit to perfection. I just wish it was a little bit clearer, as sometimes it just almost feels a little bit hidden away, the lyrics. I'm sure this was intentional to give maybe a feeling of shyness for the player as you enter something you're not comfortable or familiar with. Having a nightmare you could never understand. Just wow, so powerful. Wow, what a start to this mod. I do need to say I treated Tale of a Cruel World a bit harshly in my other ranking, which you should go watch if you haven't yet, as I didn't fully understand the context of it at the time. However, I do now, and both of these tracks presents and portrays Calamity in such a beautiful yet terrifying way. And it's perfect. S tier to start things off, you don't see that every day. But next, we have Gelatinous Dynasty, a slow and imposing track that plays during the battle with King Slime. And the first thing I've mentioned is the posture of the guy in the slime. That is some horrendous posture. But aside from that, the marching royal theming fits perfectly for a theme of a king. So far it's very grand and upbeat. It's building up to something here, probably a beat drop. Yeah, it's uplifting and energetic, which is great for the first boss in the game, as it again gives you that hopefulness and a bit of confidence that you will need. The loop as well was pretty clean with that quad drum beat that reminded me of the airship levels from 2D Mario games. Both of these songs are designed to give you a feeling of confidence before ramping up the difficulty later. This track is pretty good, however it doesn't really get me engaged in a song like Sky After Rain did, which is understandable, as it's meant to be like an introduction boss, and it's not really meant to scare you with tons of hardcore musicianal textures, but it is still pretty good, so that's where it's going to go, probably low beat here. For our third song on the list, we've got Seer of the Night, a fast-paced track that plays during the battle with Eye of Cthulhu. Very mysterious opening here. Gives me that feeling like something is watching me. I love this combination of the flute with the background kick drum. Change of melody, change of rhythm of the drum, the overall pitch is higher and faster, which is meant to signify intensity and really gets your heart racing. This track uses a fair few DM Dakuru tricks. Here firstly the consistent kick drums in the background before incorporating that classic chord progression. And now after the chaotic peak of the track, it pulls you out to give you a rest. This could be used here because it's still one of the easiest bosses and Pin Neon doesn't want to overwhelm you so early. So this is quite cleverly composed. No! The loop ruins it a bit. I'm going to have to dock it some points for that, I'm afraid. For me personally, it's another pretty good soundtrack, so it's going in B tier, but definitely above Kingslime. I just realised I somehow forgot to mention it at the start, but all of these tracks that we're going to be listening to today are made by Pin Neon. So shout out to them because so far they've done a really good job and we're only just getting started. Next up we have Misanthropic Encounters, a track that plays during the fights of various mini-bosses, the Giant Worm, various biomimics, the Sand Elemental and Cloud Elemental. Dreadnautilus too, but that has its own variant which we're going to be ranking separately. A retro opening here, reminding me of the Game Boy era, which is not a bad thing at all. So far this has some similarities to Seer of the Night. The background drum has that perfect level of intensity. The dominant beat before the quick cuts used as a transition, entering a more upbeat section but still keeping the same melody was a really nice touch. A small but neat use of a crescendo there as we enter a more vigorous part of the track. The callback of the retro sounds now mixed in with the faster beat works really well here. For me it gives a cowboy theme but super futuristic somehow. Okay, on the music video we enter the variant theme of Dreadnautilus now, but we have a separate ranking for that on the tier list, so for what we've heard so far, this was absolutely class. And now let's listen to the variant theme of Dreadnautilus. It feels very similar to the beginning of Misanthropic Encounters so far, but this is a lot more condescending. I don't really have too much to say on this so far, as it's very similar to what we've just listened to. It obviously naturally uses a lot of leitmotifs, but I'd say this more upbeat section is a lot more prominent in this one, due to the rest of the track using a lower F key, when the one from before I think uses an E key. Because this is lower, it gives a more depressing and discouraging feel to it. For me personally, I prefer the original theme a little bit more as it has more overall versatility to it. However, this is still class and it's going to be going right in behind. Now we have More of the Corruption, a heavy track that plays during the battle with the Eater of Worlds. Oh my god, this is so colossally fierce. I feel like I've just transcended into the torture chamber of the devil. This has got a very heavy beat that really packs a punch. What just happened? Right, I need to rewind it. Everything just happened so quickly. Right, so this is a callback to one of the previous Calamity tracks. I don't remember which one. Let me find out. Here, I finally found it! Oh, that took 40 minutes to find. Oh. Inferior Fabrications is the only one from that Calamity list that is also on this list, and I've ranked before. Why did I spend 40 minutes of my time looking through all of these other Calamity songs just to not use my common sense? Ah! Anyway, a really clever motif use here of Inferior Fabrications, but then the track just completely flips on its head, and that's not necessarily in a bad way, but in a somehow hopeful way. Another classic technique utilised by DM Takuru, and it's done exceptionally well here too. I adore this section here. Very emotional, and it's so vastly different to what I expected at the start of this track. In the loop, the use of decrescendo I think could have been implemented better. The re-implementation of the beat was just so sudden it didn't really work in my opinion. However, saying that, the motif of Inferior Fabrications as well as the epic start definitely puts it into A tier, and I think top of A tier so far as well. Hey, are you enjoying the video so far? Well, if you are, consider liking and subscribing. The stats tell me from my last Terraria ranking video that a third of you who watched it aren't subscribed. Oh, and if you're not enjoying the video so far, I'm sorry. Like the video anyways. Last video, I set a goal to hit 3,000 subscribers by the end of the year. If I don't hit it by then, well, I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to do anything. But subscribe anyways. After that shocking promotion, let's move on to Intellect of the Crimson, a track that plays during the battle with Brain of Cthulhu. Very eerie. It does have some motifs from the last track that we just heard, but it also does remind me of the Crimson biome in vanilla. This here gives a vibe of a clown performing an act in a circus, probably an unorthodox one. There are a few techniques used here with the constant change of melody, symbolising that something's building up. Here I'm going to teach you a little musicianal lesson. Where the rhythm's notes increase, that is called accelerando, which is an amazing name. This also creates tension. These transitions are actually just too much for me. My brain is working overtime, but Cthulhu's is just getting started. Okay, the loop again was just non-existent, but other than that, I don't know what else to say. I had so many different emotions and feelings within such a short space of time, I just don't know what to do with myself. You had the breakcore style drums that absolutely went to town, as well as the long dragged out notes to finish it off. That made me feel like Earth's core was shattered and was crumbling underneath me. Another absolutely class soundtrack, easily worthy of A tier. I think I'm going to put it just underneath Eater of Worlds. However, these two could easily be interchangeable. At the moment, we are on a very strong run of tracks. Let's see if this continues with Royal Retaliation, a track that plays during the battle with Queen Bee. This opening motifs from Fly Beelzebub, which I love, but it also reminds me of another OST. I'm not sure what though. I feel like maybe one from the 90s, maybe a SNES or N64 era. You have what I think is a reverbed piano playing that buzzing sensation that you hear, like the sound a wasp would make. Also, you can hear before in the transitional bit, I forget what it's called. Oh, what is it? Flight of the Bumblebee. Yes, that's what it is. I can play it so you understand what I mean at home and you can compare it. Here is Flight of the Bumblebee. Pretty iconic track, I'm sure you've heard of it before. And now back to Royal Retaliation. You can see the similarities. Oh! We've got a beautiful violin section here. This reminds me of Roma Vanti from Mario Kart Tour. Okay, well at least there's an attempt at the loop. Unlike some others. I'm looking at you, Intellect of the Crimson. There was a short consecutive cut to try and cover over the key jump from an E and F to a G minor. I think overall there were some really nice and smart incorporations in there, most noticeably with Flight of the Bumblebee. So for me, it's perfect, although definitely low S tier. I can't believe we got Kimsey Korsavov in Infernum before GTA 6. In the two S tier tracks that I've got so far, I put Royal Retaliation behind Sky After Rain, but that necessarily isn't my final ranking. If you haven't seen any of my previous rankings, I'll just briefly explain how S tier works for my lists. After I've ranked all the tracks, I would then individually rank everything in S tier after. So say for example I've got 10 tracks in here, I'll rank from 10th all the way to 1st, and then 1st place will get S+, the GOAT. Now that that is explained, we can now move on to the next track, Warden of the Damned, a track that plays during the battle with Skeletron. Firstly, this start off quite holy with the foreground melody, but you can hear the background synth of Megalanova. This is completely different to what I expected to hear. When I think of Skeletron, I think of a soulless being with no remorse over anything. So based on that, I think of a hardcore metal to symbolise it, but instead we've got a positive piano in the A minor keys. Oh no, I think we're entering a new part of the song. Yes, but it's still really cheerful. Oh, that might be the best transition yet. Again, using the quick consecutive cuts, but it works much better here, as it doesn't jump between keys. Again, shout out to Pinpin Neon, who's another incredible composer, who so far has made nothing but brilliant tracks. For me, the clever use of Megalanova in a synth format, as well as the joyous sensation that I get listening to this, puts it right in the middle of A tier. Do I think this track is fitting for a battle against a couple bones and a skull? Nope. Do I think this track is class and gets my head bopping up and down? Yes. This next track is the last one of pre-hard mode, One's End, Another's Beginning. A dark and imposing track that plays during the battle with the Wall of Flesh. Now I'm excited. I mean, this track has got the vanilla Boss 2 theme to compete against, so even if it's just close to how good that OST is, this will rank very highly. Oh! Sky After Rain melody here. Bells! This is again very contradicting to what I thought it would be, especially because this fight takes place in hell. Okay, I'll take it all back. Hang on, was there a motif from Brain of Cthulhu there? Yeah, this is more what I expected. An upscaling chord progression with the faster rhythm. Super daunting. Okay, wow, I've got a lot to say. First of all, the transition had 2 singular beats. After all the other musical textures delayered, this for me could mean one of 2 things. Either it's meant to signify your heartbeat as you're fighting, or a clock ticking, implying that your time is running out and your demise is imminent. Also again, I love the use of pulling you out of the harsh, reckless intensity to a slightly more positive melody, where the beat slows down a bit and gives you a feeling of rest, but more importantly, hope. But because it still has quite a fast beat, it's still keeping you on your toes. It's not like having a full break, which makes sense because after this fight you are heading into hard mode after all. Dean Takuru used this in quite a lot of his tracks, and both creators have used it really, really well. Wait, the loop was so good I didn't even realise that it looped. Now that I'm listening to it for a second time, the way such a peaceful, heartfelt title theme of Sky After Rain was implemented was just nothing short of incredible. I can imagine how much of a headache it would have been to try and make that work. I love the usage of the drums, the guitar, and of course it had bells in it, so it's guaranteed to be high up on the list. I think it was probably going to be here-ish, mid to high A tier, but then bells happened, so it's right at the top of A tier. As we enter hard mode now, let's see if the tracks are going to go just as hard, as we start off with Crowd Before One's End, a track that plays during the battle with Queen Slime. Hold up. I think I heard it. Very calming and beautiful piano section here to start us off in the B minor chord. Already just 16 seconds in and I've been thrown off. I thought it was going to build up to something massive and empowering, but instead we just got some A chords instead. Synth trombone? Tell me it's got a royal theming without telling me it's got a royal theming. Return to Slime motif? No! Again, I thought there was going to be some emphatic beat drop, but once again I got caught out. That's fine though. We've got some more elegant piano sections to fall in love with. Again, it's building up to something, but I don't believe it anymore. Oh, there's the beat drop. Third time lucky. I love the transition into the C chords to give it that finale sensation, especially with the piano crescendo and the temporary removal of the background beat drum to focus and emphasize on the climax. But what about the loop now? Okay, it's got a return to slime motif, and it was done with bells, but something felt off about those bells. I think it's because it contradicted the energetic, uplifting climax. Oh, and I need to start being more harsh in these tracks, otherwise everything will end up at the top. After some careful consideration, Crowned Before One's End just misses out on A tier and goes to the top of B tier. Next up, we've got Inferior Fabrications. On the wiki, it says an intense technological track that plays during the fight of the mechanical bosses, the Twins, the Destroyer, and Skeleton Prime. It is also featured as a placeholder track during the battle of the Exomechs, when the Infernum mod is not enabled. Now, I've already listened to this when I ranked the base Calamity soundtracks. If you haven't seen it, there'll be a card up here appearing on your screen now, which will take you to that video if you click on it. All the timestamps are on that video, so you can easily find where I reacted to it if that's all you want to watch. But I will listen to this again. I'll just be a lot more brief about it. Oh, I could not forget this absolutely epic intro. Here we go, here's the beat drop. Oh, I love this slow part so much. Really gets you in your feels, takes you away from the danger, which I described more in the original ranking. I know I ranked this an A tier in the other video, but the standard for that list was ever so slightly higher than this list in my opinion. And that is not taking away anything from Pin Pin Neon, as this standard is still unfathomably high, and I still think is much better than the vanilla Terraria. Anyways, this is perfect. As we now go past the halfway mark with Floral Animosity, a track that plays during the battle with Plantera. It also says here it includes a motif from Feral Amalgamation, so we'll try and keep an eye out for that. Oh, the flute is already giving my ears new life, raising the hair on my arms. That drum beat is very unique to this OST. I don't think there's been another Terraria track that I've ranked so far sounding anything like this. Here the E minor notes gives it a challenging battle sensation, reminding me of the Gladiators theme. This is such a different take on Plantera than the heavy metal original, and I'm absolutely in love with both variations. Now we've got a slower melody, but I think it's starting to build back up to the chorus. Here we go. Oh yes, what a transition! After climaxing, the text is suddenly delayed before a very quick use of instrumental interlude, which gives the listener that split second of suspension and anticipation. And also because of the short silence, it amplifies the significance of the beat drop. This track has got me smiling from ear to ear. The loop didn't do that though. I mean, I don't really need to say where this is going to go. Obviously it's going in S tier, it's perfect. Well, apart from the loop anyway. Well, this has been absolutely incredible so far. However, it is currently 3:30 in the morning. My throat has not fully recovered yet, and I've got extra work this week at my full-time job. So if I want a video out for Sunday, I'm going to have to split this up into 2 parts. I do also remember doing a community post a while back, and more people wanted to see 2 shorter videos rather than 1 longer video that could be an hour. I have loved ranking these 13 tracks so far with my whole heart, and I cannot wait to record part 2, which I will do as soon as possible. But in the meantime, thank you for watching, subscribe so you don't miss part 2, and good night.